matters arising. First of all, let me make it very clear that nothing has changed. Methods, everything from the judges scandal, from the Osu Children's Home scandals, is same. We have not changed anything. Undercover would always remain the last resort. Where the conventional camera cannot work, that's when we look up to undercover. And I must say that we strictly abide by the BBC of rules. Before we decide that we are coming in to do an undercover piece, our prima facie evidence would have been in place for everybody else who was caught up in our film. There was a prima facie evidence. Then again, issues of privacy and public interest. We have weighed it. We think that the public interest outweighs everything. And we always open our doors. I've always said that let's not people try or think that what I put out there should be taken hook, line, and sinker. No. Any piece of work I do, I put it out there in the public domain for a critical scrutiny. Because I also benefit from that. I have become what I am because of the kind of scrutiny I get from the public. And I always open up myself for these to be done. I take the tag controversial journalist. That's correct. Because normally, traditionally, people would name shame. I go the extra mile and go and testify in court to get the bad guys in jail. People disagree, others agree. It's fine. We are building a democracy and we're entitled to different shades of opinion. But to reiterate, those who think we just carry the camera and just do what we want, it's not true. We strictly abide by the rules. That's why we are able to play on the international stage. And again, we open up ourselves for scrutiny. Now, people have spoken about entrapment and all that in this particular investigation. And when they say that, they make specific reference to our encounter with Kwesi Nyantechi. Look, this is the chronology of events. Now we get to the base where the investigation is going to be conducted. The man is welcomed from the airport. He gets into his hotel room. And the first thing he begins to tell us is how to scam the GFA. He gives us a proper procedure, something that I did not even know, and takes me through a lecture of how you can form a shell company to be able to use it to fleece money off the investors, and also at the same time use that same company to fleece off money from the GFA. This was unsolicited. He himself gave me a roadmap, told me, so you put this company there, you charge 5% here you come and charge 25%. I'm not a football person. Of course, I had read generally, but the insight, the deep knowledge that he demonstrated. Now, another issue that people raise is that this was even before we had met the so-called investor. So we went to meet the investor with a plan that he, Kwesi Nyantechi, had proposed himself. And yet, people make it seem as if I forced him to speak. He gave me the information. I didn't even request for it. Then, the second leg, we went to the investor. And people are talking about the money might have influenced him to say all those, is the money. He made all those points before the money was handed over to him. So by the time we could say Jack, the man had mentioned and dropped names and done everything. The last bit was when the money was given to him. Again, it's an academic discussion. I'm sure that when the film comes on national TV, we'll get the opportunity, those who have not seen will get the opportunity to see it. There's been a few developments whilst this film plays, and maybe if I have, am I still in time to continue? Yes. I would look at some of these issues. I have realized that some people have decided to launch an attack on journalists or journalism, or better still, undercover journalism. My view is simple. It's the fear they have of that same method catching them in their acts. That's my opinion. Because 2 years ago it was the same thing. You didn't comment. 3 years ago we've had this running close to 15 years of work. Same method. All of a sudden you get up one day and you realize that you have just murdered somebody. You have sold people's houses. You own all high-rise buildings and all that. For me, I treat it with the contempt it deserves. I think that as journalists we ought to be focused, and that's why I have remained calm. It's the focus that is important, and the remaining calm in itself doesn't sit comfortably with people because look, we have courts of competent jurisdictions in this country. You can't just go and talk anyhow. The whole agenda was to shift focus on the substantive issue. I'm too experienced to get myself dragged into issues like that. I would focus, make sure that civil society get the right information so that we can sit here and do the interrogation we are doing. So yes, those were issues that came up. But again, I realized that the middle class fought the battle so well. And again, it tells me the power of social media. Because whereas I wasn't talking, people took up this matter, dealt with it. And I saw this Twitter page that the I Am an Ass campaign. And everybody say, well, if you want to publish pictures, then we are all an asses, publish our pictures. I felt that was a very comfortable thing for me and perhaps all my colleagues. If we do our work well, we'll have civil society backing us. Was one aspect that I really would say that all the tribulations we went through, civil society stood up, the middle class stood up and faced them. Perhaps one of the issues that I would look at, and I smiled in my room whenever I went, was how the politicians also took it. The NDC will flip it to the other side. The MPP will say, yes, that's why our president is very clean. Then the NDC. I didn't do politics. I set out to do a football story. That is what it is, and that is what it will be. And the fact that the name of a certain president has been mentioned, it's only fair you give him a right to reply. So yes, the president was given a right to reply. The vice president whose name came up was given a right to reply. And then a minister who was in there and a presidential staffer who was, were all given right to replies. And yes, the politicians will take it. And this will say, why did you give the president a chance? Some MPP members will say that you wanted to oust the jurisdiction of the president. You wanted to remove him as president. It's all beautiful. That's the beauty of our democracy. You allow all people to talk. But you see, on platforms like this, we will subject all these talks to critical scrutiny, and we will understand who is saying what and what that speech means. I also perhaps had some level of threats, intimidations coming to my staff and all that. Look, it's not new. It's the same old tactics. Hound the journalist, let him fear you so that tomorrow he can't handle the next story. Call on people, the tax, that when they see him, they should attack him, they should hang him, they should kill him. This didn't start today. We learned this in the days of the Tommy Forsons, in Nnamdi Azikiwe's, Nobel Zongo. This is not new. Same old trick. The most important thing is that as they call for your death and all that, you keep the focus. It will not stop. I can't guarantee that in the next 10 years, journalists will not go through this. But I can tell you, it can only strengthen us and nothing else. Do I still have time? Okay, I have one more point. I also observed something very interesting. from the village folks who didn't understand how a hidden camera works. And they felt that because you come from the traditional area, there must be some superstition. I saw headlines that said I belong to the Illuminati. I couldn't stop laughing. And others said that I was TB Joshua's boy. Others said that I was from the shrine. For me, it's important that the people in the village know that you are one of them. They don't understand how you do all this. So they have to situate you in their context. And in the village, it's only the gods who can make these things happen. So they ought to say that you have this power or that power. And it was an interesting observation. And it also told me that our work is not only judged by people in the cities. The people in the villages are also interested. They want to know what is happening. Now, I'd want to end by saying that all this is not new. It's happened over the years. Same thing happening in the West. Sting operations are normal. People have the right to challenge. We are capable of defending ourselves in the court of law. And it can only strengthen us and nothing more. Thank you very much.